We are back here at PRI. We're in the ZMAX US Legends Cars booth at Performance Racing Industry in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm James Pike. I'm here with Legends car driver Zach Merchant. Zach, I think the first question that we've all got on our minds, I know the video of your incident at Summer Shootout made pretty big rounds over social media over the course of the summer. So I think first and foremost and most importantly, physically, how are you feeling? How are you doing in the recovery?
I can say for certain my recovery has gone pretty well. The ironic part is I threw my back out. Coming to PRI, it's really silly actually. I was in my apartment bending down to grab something and popped my back out. But that is unrelated to the issue that happened at PRI, or not at PRI, at Summer Shootout. We're here at PRI.
Right.
But I can say for certain and in full confidence that I've made a full recovery. I still have a couple of straggling issues with my back, but otherwise, I am just about ready to get back into a race car. I'm just waiting to get medically cleared. Just insurance and things like that is what we're working with at the moment. I've got to go to my primary care doctor, get a good follow-up, but once everything is completely said and done, you bet you'll be seeing me back in a race car.
What have you had to work back from? What ultimately happened as a result of it?
It's been a big struggle, not just physically, but mentally as well, because, you know, I'm one of the drivers that you see around social media, but, you know, social media paints a picture. It shows that, you know, you are out there and you're vibrant. You're doing a really great job with being great in front of a camera, but the biggest thing that I struggle with is just finding that funding, because you see a lot of race car drivers, they'll make those posts saying, you know, it's been a hard day, we tore up a race car, it's really difficult, but you know, the biggest thing for them is they're still going to be back tomorrow. I'm not. I'm the one of those drivers that show up with $20 in my back pocket, and if I wreck the race car, I'm going home. I took out a loan just to get my legend car. You know, it's something that has been a big thing for me. It's obviously been a big storyline. I'm one of the few drivers that have spent that kind of money on himself to be able to be in a race car, and you know, I refinanced my loan actually this year just so I could run Summer Shootout, only to make it through about 4 rounds, and it's been a mental process of being able to come back from that and know that I still do have another chance to get in a race car. And even though I'm usually not one of the front runners, it shows that I still want to be there and I still want to be able to compete. And you know, I haven't had the chance to really put a bunch of brand new equipment on my car, because a lot of the newer style parts coming out for the Legend car, the MT, the newer ECU to go with that, the newer dash display, it creates a bit of an equipment disadvantage for myself. But you know, even with the equipment that I have, I can go out to Charlotte and I can still run in the top 10.
And you do a lot of great stuff. I know. I think it was just a shame because you had a neat season going before the incident, and then it all just sort of stopped cold turkey once that happened. So you look back on everything that happened before, what kind of positives can you draw from that portion of the season, and what were some of your proudest moments, I guess, in 25 when you look back on it?
Proudest moments in 25 were very near and far between. I think I only made about 4 or 5 starts in a Legend car before the money pretty much dried up with the wreck, but you know, I can say for certain that I've been able to branch out into different areas that I could potentially use as avenues to put myself back in a race car. I took some broadcasting positions. I have been kind of involving myself in iRacing broadcasts, kind of like how you did with Podium Esports for a while. I've been working with PitStop TV, Andrew Cardinale. It's been really, really great to be able to envelop myself in some great iRacing leagues. We've been doing the BRB Sundance Pro Series. We've been doing NARL. We had the privilege to cover majors in the Majors 24 series, and then, you know, Sarah Super Series, the Sarah Pierce Fleet Super Series, and the Impel Motorsports National Tour. It's been really great working with guys there, because there's a lot of familiar faces that I know and you know as well. Alex McCullum, Joel Smith, Josh Parrish, a lot of great guys in those series.
Chase Robertson's down in the Yellow Hall.
He's here too. Yeah. I've seen him around a few times, just haven't had the chance to say hi. But you know, it's people that I know, people I run with. You know, Joel Smith, I've run with him in a Legend car. Alex McCullum. You know, it's great to see the familiar faces and be able to put myself in the shoes behind the microphone. I had the chance to be at some of the car store races this year, like at Caraway Speedway. I know you were there with Taylor Kitchen, got to sit down with her, chat with her a little bit, and you know, my power ran out when I was doing the interview with her, so little interview in the dark there, but it was a great chance to sit down and be able to envelop myself a little bit more in the motorsport side of things, not just from a driver perspective, but from a broadcaster and a pit reporter perspective as well.
And that, at least it sounds like it sort of rounded out your perspective on things, that if maybe there's a positive to take, you know, you don't necessarily want things to play out the way that they did. It's not the lottery card you're trying to pull, but with the way that it panned out, you took the time and you sort of worked around the industry from different corners, and it seems like now you have a better understanding of how all the pieces come together better and more than you had before.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's been a lot of learning curves this year on just what the perspectives mean and how I can attribute it to my own standpoint going through motorsports. And, you know, I can't release too many details, but I'm working on a couple of things for myself in a way that kind of takes my perspective of how I grew up with racing and helps create better opportunities for others. It's going to still be a bit of a work in progress going into next year, but I think it's something that I can really work with. It's something that I can take into different aspects, we'll say, because it's going to help drivers on their side. It's going to be a bit more media centric as well, and then it's also going to be finding some footing for others and helping them find that perspective that I never had growing up, because I spent a few years in soapbox derby, I did karting, and then I stepped into a legend car, and it's been a situation to where I never had a lot of great opportunities growing up to be able to put myself into racing, and I want to be able to give others that opportunity that I just never had.
I think, especially geographically, your place is a little bit unique. Home for you is Wake Forest, North Carolina. Side note, go Deeks.
The town, not the college.
Yeah, I know, but the college started in the town and then they
That
moved.
it did. I live right next to the college campus that it used to be, actually.
Right. But go Deeks always stands in this world. We'll take. I want about 5 seconds there while we do it. But back to the main sort of point of the story here. Wake Forest is close enough to Raleigh to where you kind of get Raleigh's influence, but you don't totally get Raleigh's influence, and so you end up in almost a little bit of a bubble, right? So to come out of there, what's that experience been like, trying to make it as a Wake Forest guy?
Well, it's tricky, because not only do you have Wake County Speedway right there, where you can absolutely get some great NASCAR media, because it is a NASCAR home track. It's also in a standpoint of there's not a lot of big time racing influence. There's a lot of drivers out of the Raleigh area, and there's a lot of great drivers that show up to Wake County Speedway, but you don't necessarily always see the racing aspect related outside of that area, because I don't know. NASCAR and stock car racing as a whole is big time in North Carolina. Not to mention it's a state sport, stock car racing.
This is true. Yep.
North Carolina state governor actually also just passed a law preventing frivolous lawsuits we've been seeing that have been shutting these racetracks down. So I'm really happy to see that there is some basis being taken to hang on to our racetracks. We have, you know, I do have some statistics actually. We have, I think, the 3rd or 4th most racetracks per capita.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with short track racing in North Carolina, and you know, kind of taking that to the Raleigh scene, to the Wake Forest scene, it's a little difficult, because not everybody really wants to care about racing in that sense. It's always football, basketball, baseball, you know, the big time American sports that you always see, and trying to bring racing and bring stock car racing, even just stock car racing itself, into that area. It's difficult, but I'm finding some headway here and there and ways that I can work into it. But I think the biggest thing that's giving me that edge is just my story in of itself, because, you know, I'm the type of driver that, like I've already stated, doesn't have a lot of funding, but, you know, even on that note, I've had so many different circumstances that have really attributed to my racing dreams. I mean, I lost my job the Saturday before coming here. You know, I just got fired from my job. Company cuts, different things happening, and obviously I wasn't a part of that. And, you know, I lost my job earlier this year as well, before Summer Shootout even started. So I went into Summer Shootout with very, very little funding, you know, and I broke my back, obviously. I've grown up in situations where I've been a part of floods, fires, had my house catch on fire in 2019, got involved in a flood in 2011, was homeless 4 times growing up. There were certain family situations that happened that created difficult circumstances, especially with the economy. So I have very much learned from just a young age to take what you have and use it to your advantage, but also cherish what you have, because very, very easily it can be taken away from you.
And I think we'd be remiss to not talk about your story and not talk about the sim racing component of it. You mentioned it a little bit ago. Obviously big for me in my background, big for you in your background. Let's start though with the story of the O2, because I know that's got a lot of ties back that way.
It definitely does. I think my 02 from a young age was always something that I really loved. in a sense of having it as a number, because initially it started as 102. It started when I was playing NASCAR 07 with a friend, and we were just designing custom cars, and big NASCAR 07 fan, love NASCAR 07, NASCAR 06, Total Team Control, grew up on that big time. But I was just designing a custom car, and I'm like, just give me a random number, and it was 102, and I was like, you know what, I like that number. It's really, really nice. And as I started going out my racing years, I found 102 kept kind of popping up. I'll be driving to Charlotte for summer shootout or for winter heat, and I'm just sitting behind a semi, and the semis have the identification numbers on there, and I'll just see 102, and I'm like, wow, that's convenient. And it started popping up in a lot of different places. There are a few personal areas that's popped up. Not going to go into that because I'd be revealing personal information that I shouldn't reveal, but it's popped up in a lot of different spots, and it's somewhat become my lucky number. And even another reason behind it, if you flip it around, 201, put a little dash mark there, that's February 1st, that's my dad's birthday. So it's got some good meaning behind it. I've always got to remember how much my parents have supported me. My mom has done a lot for me. She's provided a lot of support. She's always been in my races, and I can't thank that enough. One dream that I have is when I step foot in victory lane in a legend car, because it's been tough getting to victory lane in a legend car, that my mom is going to be there right there, that I'll be able to give her a big hug. My dad's going to be there. I can give him a big hug too. He's helped me a lot. I worked for him for a summer. That's how I paid for a lot of my racing. And my parents have never been able to fully provide me with the financial help for racing, but the moral support has always been there.
There's a lot that we can dig into on that. I want to come back to that, but I want to finish the first line of question, because you're big into iRacing, I'm big into iRacing. You broadcast all these incredible leagues that have built a great foothold in the communities, leagues that, outside of the official competitions from NASCAR and company really are the places to go. Sarah, for short track racing in particular, I know. NARL, I've seen some of their stuff, but you also drive a sim too, because we all do. We might not be good, but we try it. So I want to focus on the Legend Car update, because that's our sort of world here. Comprehensive, state-of-the-art, from the ground rebuild of the Legend Car that dropped in iRacing this past March. You spent a lot of time with the old one. You spent a decent amount of time with the new one. What are the biggest changes that you've noticed between the two builds of Legend Car, and how is it better now than ever before?
See, that's tough, because when I got into Legend Car racing, I never got to run the Federal tires, the 1250 motors. Well, actually, that's not true. I did run a 1250 motor in my first Legend Car start, but for the time being, I've always been in the FZ. I have not upgraded to an MT yet. Float backs to the money on that one. But in terms of the Legend Car update, it's been a very different change of pace, because iRacing has the rookie Legend Car and the normal Legend Car. Obviously, very different on both aspects. The rookie Legend Car and the regular Legend Car, as well as the dirt, have seen very different characteristics. And like you said, it's a ground up rebuild. I think from the old one to the new one, it's gotten a lot more free with the rear end. So you have to be a lot more sensitive on the throttle. You have to be very smooth with your inputs. You've got to be a lot more careful to be fast. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's what they always say. So once I got down the smooth aspect, I was able to get down the fast aspect, and I feel like I've gotten a lot more competitive on the sim in the Legend Car now, based on what it used to be with the older style Legend Car. But I really, really like it. I really like how well it's been developed onto the iRacing.com sim. It's given me a lot to go with, and they had some displays actually at Bando Nationals, because I was there doing some media coverage and got the chance to, show up Neil Doolin a little bit on the sim, got to run with him, compete a couple of lap times. I think we were very close, within about 1/10 of a second on our lap times. But, it's been very, very informative with helping me and gauging my ability and being able to practice on the sim and just have that tool at home to be able to use when I'm not at the racetrack, and be able to race with friends too that I've competed with in real life and then compete with them on the sim. It's such a great feeling, especially with being able to use iRacing for so much more than just learning the Legend Car, because I've done a lot of the eNASCAR stuff with the Road to Pro series. I have done a lot of big time leagues and big time money races. I've competed in the Podium 500. I've competed in so many different races on the iRacing.com sim that I've been able to show myself and represent my sponsors on there as well. It's so great to be able to use that tool for when I'm not at the racetrack.
I've got to ask here, just because we got our friends at the car store with us at this booth, they happen to have a certain naturally flavored citrus race car just off the shop behind. We got one of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s late models this past season here on the floor at PRI. Have you had the chance to run the late model in the sim all that much?
Sir, you have no idea what kind of questions you're asking with that one. I run the late model stock car religiously on the iRacing.com sim. It's one of my favorite cars. It has been an absolutely amazing car to run. I think it shows because my I rating went from about a 3,500 to a 5,500 overnight.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we're getting up there. Obviously not Joel Smith territory.
Right.
Biggest iRacing
Ty
fanatic there. Ty Majeski, Casey Kerwin.
Yeah.
I've had the chance to speak with Casey a couple of times. I've obviously had the chance to work with Joel Smith. Obviously, the setup shop takeover has really helped with a lot of drivers and building up their I rating on the iRacing.com sim. You've got RKM, EPI, Cottle Chassis, you've got the shop, big names in Sarah Series because they've had a lot of drivers running in there, but you know, I've had the chance to run EPI setups. I've had the chance to work with RKM setups. I can say for certain that I'm a big fan of how these setups have come up, how they've been developed, and just how much I've been able to utilize them as well. Because I went in, bought an EPI setup. I think first day I got a couple of wins off of that one. It was very, very informative to go in and run a fixed race and then run an open setup race with a professional setup shop. And then I partnered up actually with EPI for the Road to Pro Series. I believe it was last year. I didn't advance through round one. I had to miss a couple of races due to some personal reasons, but you know, I was a lot more competitive than years past. So it was very, very great to actually have that information on hand. Not to mention with telemetry data as well. iRacing just partnered up to just have some new telemetry data for these newer style. Yes, absolutely. For these newer style cars coming in and the new setups, the new updates that are coming in as well. It's so informative to have those tools, and I feel like I'm going to be a better driver going into next year for it.
Does that give you inspiration to try and run a late model in real life at some point, maybe?
Well, I can tell you for certain that I've talked to a couple of people about running a late model.
Okay.
It's been on my radar. I have phone numbers in my phone that should I find that funding, I want to go run some market cars. It's definitely helped me with being able to find that networking ability and just absolutely get involved with being in these higher performance race cars. I was actually speaking with Bobby Dale Earnhardt and how he's running with Rise Motorsports going into next season full time. He and I actually had a little conversation. There was something about me going to spot for him at Bristol last year. That ultimately fell through. He had some other plans in mind, but it's nice to be able to have that aspect. And you know, going into next year, I want to try to be able to utilize those aspects as well, not just from a driver perspective, but you know, being a spotter as well. I know what it's like inside the car, so I know what these drivers want to hear. So if there's anybody out there that would like to hire a spotter for a couple of short track races or even for some national races, I'd love to get my foot stepped in there. You know, for media purposes as well, there are some certain things that I'm going to be doing going into next year per the plans that I said I can't fully speak on at the moment. And you know, just finding ways, different ways to network is all, and keep my foot in the door.
I like that. I promise we come back to the folks. So the last big question I want to ask is about them. You talked a little bit about how significant they've been to your career. Can you expand upon that and just illustrate what kind of, not even value, I almost feel like that's the wrong word, but just how significant, how their love, their support has fueled the career Zach Moritz has up to this point?
I think the support that my parents have given me is always on a kind of very motivational basis, but at the same time, it's difficult to paint that picture because, you know, like I said, I've encountered a lot of hardships this year. I lost my job in June, lost my newer job just the Saturday before PRI started, and you know, my dad has been very on my case about making sure that I am taking care of myself before I step back into a race car, which it's a hard mentality to hold because I very, very much want to be back in a race car. Being inside of a race car is the biggest thing for me. I can't imagine my life outside of a race car. I can't imagine my life outside of racing. I can't imagine doing anything else, you know. I find working a 9-to-5 job, you know, a casual job, I find it very boring in a sense. And that's not me trying to sound like I'm being, you know, condescending or cocky. It's just the mentality of my generation, your generation as well, because we're not that far apart in age.
No.
You know, it's like we have kind of seen what our parents went through, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, not getting home until 7, 8 o'clock at night, you know, not being able to do much with us, having to go right to bed, get up for work the next morning. It's not something that I want to be able to do for myself. I want to be able to have that time. I want to be able to give myself the opportunity to be inside of a race car. And, you know, working a 9-to-5 job, that prevents me from being able to go ahead and make phone calls and talk to sponsors, send emails. By the time I get home, businesses are closed for the day. I can't do any sort of work with them. And, you know, my dad has been big on me about just being able to work and fund myself and, you know, keep myself afloat. I just recently moved out on my own this year. So I'm in my own apartment. I'm a single man working a regular job, just trying to fund myself and stay in my apartment. You know, obviously there are fallbacks in case I were to, say, not be able to pay my bills, get evicted, but I don't want something like that to happen. So obviously I have to work for myself and I have to work towards a goal while also trying to be able to support myself. And, you know, that's just something my dad's been big on lately, my stepmom as well. They have been trying to tell me, Zach, stop spending money, stop spending money. Here I am. I spent money on a plane ticket to get here. I'm spending money on a place to stay, spending money on food. It's definitely been a big thing, just trying to be able to find that budget, find that to work with, you know. And then on the other aspect, the other side, my mom is just like, just spend the money, go. It's
chase your dreams sort of thing, right?
My mom and my dad are both very pivotal on motivating me, but, you know, I think my mom has had a little bit more influence on don't listen to anybody else, just chase your dreams. I know it's hard to find that money, but, you know, it's definitely something that you need to focus on. And, you know, there are times where I've had to step up for the family. I've had to help out.
Right.
And the money that I wanted to spend on racing, I didn't get to spend. I had to help out. I had to be that person that was there. And, you know, I hate that I had to do it, but I also don't hate that I had to do it, because obviously someone had to help, and I wanted to be there for my family. But, you know, I think from the perspective of looking at it from my dad's perspective, my mom's perspective, my dad is on the sense of make sure you're taken care of before you spend the money, and then my mom's like, you are taken care of, you can go spend that money, go out there and go get it. And it's a difficult balance, because, you know, I've gotten into arguments with my parents. I've gotten into great conversations with my parents. It's, you know, we're family, we're gonna fight, but at the end of the day, they still want to see me succeed, and, you know, really that's all that matters.
There's a lot of good stuff there that we could dig into for forever, but we'd be here for forever. So
absolutely we would.
I want to do two things here to close this out. One, I know you said you can't talk about everything for next year, but can you talk about some of what you're trying to do next year? What's on the docket for you?
What's on the docket is get the legend car fixed and get back in the legend car. Do as much as I can. I can say for certain that I am actively looking for late model rides. That is one thing that I am looking into next season. I'm definitely looking at trying to make that happen. I have to do a few safety upgrades. I have to get a new Hans device if I'm not mistaken. I'm definitely getting a new Hans device. The hybrid looks really good, so I'm definitely looking at investing in that. My Snell rating is about to expire on my helmet, so I have to get that taken care of as well. I have to get a new suit. I've been in talks with K1 about getting that taken care of, and I'm actually going to go talk to them a little bit more and see if there's anything that I can potentially work out, just try to find some more funding. But legend car is definitely on the docket. Looking for late model rides, that's one thing I'm looking at. Can't get into more details on top of that, because my big thing is I don't like to speak on things until they're happening, because you could have deals locked up and then you make that announcement 2 days later, it's gone.
Yep.
But definitely looking to get back in the legend car. Definitely looking for late model rides. I've talked to a couple of people, won't say who, but I've definitely talked to a few people about stepping forward, making myself known.
It'd be neat to see you in a pro late model or a late model with the car store for sure.
Car store's been on my radar. I've done a little bit of work with, you know, getting myself towards the car store. I spoke with Eric Brennan when I was at Caraway. It was like, hey, is there any openings with you know, doing some media? I know you and Taylor Kitchen were doing some great pit reporting. You know, love your pit reporting, Pike. Always follow along with that. But, you know, if I can step into that and kind of do some networking on top of that, maybe some shape or form down the road, maybe there's some way that I can put myself in those shoes as well. you know, there's a lot of guys in the car store that I know. Landon Huffman, Landon Lewis, a couple of guys over in the KHI, obviously Keelan Harvick. Had the chance to run Legend Cars with him. I've interviewed him, you've interviewed him. So, you know, great kid, just won the Snowflake too. So I think there's some good avenues that I can go into with going into the cars tour, but I'm not gonna say that I'm totally involved in it just yet, just from a funding standpoint.
Also, but before we wrap this up, side note here for you all watching, Taylor Kitchen and Eric Brennan, we love you all in this house.
Absolutely.
Fabulous people. So, if people want to follow you, however, where can they go on social media or elsewhere to follow the adventures of Zach Mertes Racing?
YouTube, for starters. YouTube is definitely my biggest following. We are approaching 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's been a bit of a trial and tribulation because we should be higher, but had to hunker down, had to get to work, so I kind of fell off with my YouTube. But, you know, this week is definitely going to be content-based as well, so should be seeing some more YouTube videos coming up as well.
Should be seeing some videos of this. I'm looking at your cameras right there. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm going to be using my footage and the footage that we're getting here.
Yeah.
But, you know, YouTube's definitely the biggest following, TikTok as well. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all over the place. You can also shoot me an email that is going to be mertesracing102@gmail.com. That's MERTESRACING102@gmail.com. So if you would like to partner up with me going into the 2026 season, you can always shoot me an email. You can give me a phone call. I will personally give you my phone number if you want to hang up, or not hang up, if you want to hang out or talk or chat when it comes to funding going into next year. I am in no way, shape, or form opposed to any sort of sponsorship, B2B sponsorship, monetary sponsorship, you know, iRacing sponsorships. You know, I have great ways that I can incorporate social media and iRacing and providing that return on investment. So whatever you want to do, please don't hang up. I won't hang up. Get in contact with me.
Once you have a deal done.
Yeah, no, we can hang up after the phone call's done, but not before the deal's done. Get in contact with me. I'll reach out. I will do absolutely everything I can. I've got my sponsor decks if you want to take a look at that. I have always got any sort of information that I can provide for potential sponsors, and if you want to get in touch with me, you've got all the avenues possible. I've got business cards that if you want to speak with me in person, any sort of avenue that I can provide that you can get in contact with me, I'll be there.
One last important question, your handles on social.
Handles at Zach Mertes. All my socials, at Zach Mertes, ZACHMERTES.
That seems like a good way to END this interview. I'm not going to try and spell that out. But Zach Mertes, U.S. Legends car racer, here at PRI. Plenty of great people we're going to have today and tomorrow. If you're in Indianapolis and you're at the show, you can visit us at booth 4221. We're pretty much dead center of the Yellow Hall. We look forward to seeing you here at our booth. We look forward to seeing Zach back on the racetrack in 2026.